Warning, this video contains content that some may find disturbing.
This is my second paranormal story that is coming from you from St. Louis, Missouri. And while I tell this story, I'm going to do my makeup. Paranormal, I love paranormal. Anything that has to do with ghosts. Things that cannot be explained. So yes, this is going to be a ride. Let's get started. So, St. Louis, Missouri. This is the story of the Lemp Family Mansion. The Lemp Mansion is located in St. Louis, Missouri, and the mansion continues to play a tragic role in the Lemp family. So let's get into the history of the Lemp family first. Johann Adam Lemp arrived in St. Louis, Missouri from Germany in 1838. That's where he built a small grocery store where he sold, normal groceries, household items, stuff like that. But he also sold and homemade beer, a German lager. Now, this was a light beer, and the recipe for this beer was passed down from his father to him. So it's a family recipe. And at the time, light beer wasn't really a thing. It was all dark beer, especially in America. Like, it was dark lager in the 1800s. And it was a nice change to the area. Something new. The Golden Lager became so popular that Mr. Lemp actually sold his grocery store and opened up built a small brewery to sell the beer. So in 1840, that's when it opened. And it's actually pretty close to where the Gateway Arch is today. So Mr. Lemp first sold his beer at a pub that was actually attached to his brewery, which introduced St. Louis to its first lager. And business was booming. Why is that eye smaller than that eye? So he couldn't keep up with production, sales. Business was going good. And not only could he not keep up with all of it, the brewery was really small. So, and there was just not enough space in that small brewery. So, Mr. Lemp found a limestone cave. Yes, a cave in St. Louis, Missouri. The cave could actually be kept cool by the Mississippi River by chopping ice from the Mississippi River and just placing it throughout the cave. And it kept the cave relatively cool. And that was perfect conditions for a brewery, for the beer. So, Lemp's Western Brewery Company was a hit. By 1850, it was the largest in the city. 1858, the lager actually won first place at the St. Louis Fair. Sadly, August 25th, 1862, Adam Lemp died of natural causes, leaving his $1 million company to his son, William. And William was all about it. I mean, $1 million business, already booming. Sure. So he started to expand the brewery. He ended up buying 5 blocks above the cave system to expand. In 1864, the new plant was completed. By 1870, Wealth and Power titled the Lemp family name. I need to make a beer. The Lemp Brewery even controlled the St. Louis beer market. And that's pretty good. So, William Lemp purchased a house that his father-in-law built that was close by the brewery. I say house, but it was a 33-room mansion. Yeah. And with this mansion he bought, he had a tunnel built that went from the brewery to his house mansion. It went throughout the caves. That's pretty cool, right? Like, I want to be that rich. So when refrigerators finally became a thing and they no longer really had to go, you know, to the Mississippi River to get ice, parts of the cave were converted into office storage areas, and other things were converted to, like, you know, a natural auditorium, a theater. Hey, you want to come check out my cave? It has a theater. Like, okay, sure. Crazy. Oh yeah. It also has a swimming pool and a bowling alley. In the midst of all of their success, the Lemp family experienced one of many tragedies. William's favorite, yes, I said favorite, son and heir died in 1901 at just the age of 28. Sadly, he never had good health. He just died of heart failure. After his favorite son died, William just was never the same. William stopped making appearances out in public. He was going downhill. Like, I mean, this was the kid that was supposed to take over his business. And his health was just spiraling. Then, on January 1st, 1904, just 3 years after his favorite son died, Frederick Pabst also died. Frederick wasn't just a friend, he was like a mentor, and he helped with the business and everything too. So it was a lot. It was a lot for William to take in. And William became unsettled and nervous and just wasn't doing good. But he still showed up to work every day. But his physical and mental health just started to decline. I mean, he lost his son, his favorite son, and then 3 years later, he loses his best friend. Sadly, on February 13th, 1904, William shot himself. William shot himself in the head with a .38 caliber. Smith & Wesson. So what happens now? Well, William had other kids. And his next kid in line is William Jr. William Lemp Jr. This is our character right here. I'm being sarcastic. So, William Lemp Jr. took over the business, the $1 million business. So he inherited a huge fortune. So William Jr. and his wife Lillian began to spend the inheritance. And what did they spend it on? Servants, clothing, carriages, art, all the good stuff. And Lillian was very beautiful. She was gorgeous. Gorgeous woman. She herself also came from a wealthy family. And William and Lillian had a child on September 26, 1900. So before his father shot himself in the head, 4 years before that, they did have a child. Lillian was known as the Lavender Lady. Can you imagine why? Her favorite color was lavender. So her favorite color was lavender. She'd always be seen wearing lavender colors. She even had the horses' harnesses dyed lavender. Lavender was her thing. And boy, did William Jr. love showing off his wife. I mean, she was gorgeous. Of course he would. That was his trophy wife. I didn't say it. They did. The article did. And she is pretty though. But unfortunately, William Jr. was a player. You know, being one that was handed everything to him. You know, I like to call it the silver spoon syndrome. The entitlement. And you guessed it, he got tired of Lillian. He got so tired of her, in fact, that he would go to pay her $1,000 a day to go out of the house and just go spend the money.
Here's some information for jobs that pay $1,000 a day. Here's a summary from the website Indeed.com. There are 19 jobs that can pay $1,000 per day. Sales representative, blogger.
I didn't ask Google on that.
Freelance writer, business development executive, freelance designer.
Okay, Google.
Petroleum engineer.
Stop. Alrighty then. Anywho. So, he would go to pay her $1,000 a day just to get her out of the house. To get her away. So, by day, William Jr. was he showed up to work. He worked in the factory. He did the brewery. He did everything right, you know. Good, yay. Yay for him. Whoop-dee. But by night, he held these lavish parties where the beer was just a flowing free and they were just all in the caves and it was just whatever. He even had prostitutes come for entertainment. Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that if Lillian refused the $1,000, he'd never give her another cent again. So these parties were known as enjoying a high time in the earth below. That's what they were known by. Well, William Jr.'s partying and schlepping around caught up to him. He ended up getting it was either a prostitute or a maid pregnant during those parties. And sadly, he was born with Down syndrome. And the Lemp family, William Jr., couldn't have that attached to him. Not only was it a scandal that he got somebody else pregnant, but this child had Down syndrome. So they locked this child in the attic his entire life. So they wouldn't tarnish the Lemp family name. And this William Jr. guy, just a great guy. The worst part is they called the child, the illegitimate child, the monkey face boy. Like, I can't, like, it's just heartbreaking. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say to that. Oh, I'm going to use tape for the first time on my face. So, in 1908, William officially filed for divorce from his wife. Now, let me tell you, this wasn't like one of those quiet divorces, like, huh, yeah, okay, whatever, good for you. It is said that the courtroom was filled with drama. Drama, drunkenness, and even cruelty was seen. Why, it was on the headline of the newspaper. So the entire, this looks silly, the entire neighborhood, the entire city pretty much showed up to the courtroom to watch this scandalous thing unfold. And you know what the worst part about this is? Even with the fairs and activities that William Jr. did, Lillian almost lost custody of their son because they showed a picture of her smoking a cigarette. Yeah. And this is where it gets good. So, in 1906, 9 brewery companies came together and formed one giant brewing company, which made it a huge competition for William Lemp, the Lemp Brewing Company. Well, sadly, in the same year on April 16th, William Jr.'s mom, passed away from cancer. There wasn't much on her, but it's just sad. Like, so even though the brewery started having decline in sales and everything, William Jr. took it upon himself to remodel the entire mansion, the entire Lemp mansion. He converted some parts into office space. William then built a home on the countryside and remarried in 1915 to an Ellie Lemberg. Now, Prohibition came along in 1919. And, you know, the family members were so wealthy, like, Prohibition didn't do anything to their wallets, like, at all. Like, they were so wealthy. It wasn't a big deal. But William Jr. was hoping that Congress would repeal it. Because he still wanted to have those parties in those caves. He still wanted to have all that going for him. Well, Congress never did, and William Jr. ended up just giving up. And in him giving up, he just shut down the entire factory. Like, shut down everything. He just one day just upped and shut it all down. And he didn't say anything to anybody about it. The workers only found out when they came to work the next morning and the gates had locks on them. They couldn't get in. That's how they found out they didn't have a job anymore. Yay. Good job, William. Now, on March 20th, 1920, Elsa, which is William Jr.'s sister, sadly shot herself, just like her father did years before. It was said that Elsa had a rocky marriage and it wasn't going so well. You know, back then divorce wasn't like, women really didn't go for divorce. It was, you just had to write it out. So yeah. So with Prohibition and him shutting everything down, William Jr. started liquidating, selling parts of the brewery and auctioning the buildings off. He ended up selling the famous logo, the Falstaff logo, to a, I'm gonna butcher his last name because I have no idea and I should have looked it up, but he sold the logo, the Falstaff logo, to Joseph Geistig. Sounds German to me, I don't know. And he sold it for $25,000 in 1922. The buildings of the Lemp Brewery were sold to the International Shoe Company for just $588,000. And I say just, but before Prohibition, that building was worth $7 million. So that's a big loss on the Lemp family. So after the brewery family dynasty came to an end, William Jr. fell into a depression, a dark depression. It is said he became erratic, shunning public life, and he also started complaining about his health declining. Naturally, William Jr. shot himself in the heart with a .38 caliber. In the very same place his father shot himself. Which was the room that served as his office. Now, William Jr. had two other brothers, Charles and Edwin. Charles and Edwin didn't want to have anything to do with the family business, but with William Jr. gone, it was as if, you know, the Lemp family empire died with him. Sadly, in 1943, tragedy struck again. William Lemp III, which was William Jr. and Lillian's only son, he died of a heart attack at the age of 43. So William Jr.'s brother, Charles, he was an odd figure. So he moved into the Lemp Family Mansion and it was all remodeled. He had it remodeled, completely remodeled. But he developed a very morbid fear of germs. It was even said that he wore gloves all the time, at all times. When he was outside, when he was inside. I mean, all the time. Wore gloves. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, I don't like germs as much as the next guy, but you know, he was to that crazy point of germs. And it was also during this time that Charles knew of William Jr.'s illegitimate child, monkey face boy, that lived in the attic. Sadly, this illegitimate child died at the age of 30. And what is even sadder is that when they buried him, on his marker, his grave marker, all that it said was Lemp. No dates, no name, nothing, just Lemp. Like, they were so embarrassed by this child. I mean, that's heartbreaking. Like, and all the articles I've read, you don't know his name at all. Nobody has his name. Like, just Lemp. That poor child didn't deserve to be in that shitty family. Sorry. But it's true. Well, after the illegitimate child died, Charles became the fourth family member that committed suicide. This is the part that just gets me all the time. So he committed suicide. It's said that he first shot his Doberman, his dog, in the basement, and went upstairs into his room and shot himself. It said that he was found by his staff with the, you guessed it, .38 caliber in his hand. And sadly, they found the dog on the stairs. Like, even though after he shot his own dog, the dog was trying to go after him. Like, trying to find him. And that's so sad. Like, oh my God. So, out of all of the Lemp family, Edwin, which is William Jr.'s other brother, stayed out of the business. He didn't want to have anything to do with it whatsoever. Not the mansion, nothing. Well, good for him, because he was the only one to have died of natural causes at the ripe old age of 90. He lived a peaceful life in a secluded estate way away from, I mean, in Missouri, but way away from that entire brewery. Good for you, Edwin. Good for you. And he died in 1970. What I think is funny is that Edwin's last wishes was to have all the family paintings, all the documents and artifacts of the Lemp family burnt. Tell me that ain't odd. So after Charles died, the Lemp Family Mansion was turned into a boarding house, along with the 5-block neighborhood. The building was, the building was old. I mean, 1800s. It started to deteriorate. This is where the paranormal started to happen. Residents would complain of knocks and footsteps throughout the entire building. No place was safe for those sounds. And as this kept happening, tenants would just leave. They would not come back. Bye. See ya. Nope. In 1975, the building was saved by a man named Dick Pointer and his family. They began to renovate and remodel the Lemp Family Mansion, and they turned it into a lovely restaurant and inn. New workers arrived, and guess what? They would tell stories of seeing apparitions, hearing footsteps, hearing knocks. Their tools were vanishing, and they all had feelings of being watched. Many quit on site and never returned. They're like, I'm out. Nope. Goodbye. See you later. Bye-bye then. Yeah. So, since they actually opened the inn for, you know, people to come stay, staff members still complained of seeing apparitions, you know, all that good stuff. Even glasses lifting up and being thrown. Doors would unlock and lock. They had a piano bar, and the piano would just start playing all on its own. Now, 3 areas of the Lemp Family Mansion are said to be the most haunted. The stairway, the attic, and of course, what the workers called the gates of hell, which was the entranceway and to the caves, the tunnel caves, to the tunnels and the caves. It is said that in the attic, you guessed it, was haunted by the illegitimate child. They could see his face. One woman was saying that when she was on the street, she saw somebody on the 3rd floor looking down at her that had a weird face. Ghost hunters have actually been here several times, and what they would do is they would draw a chalk circle in the room, in the attic, and place toys in the center of the circle. The next day they would go there, and the toys were moved way away from that circle. That's just so sad. Like, I just can't. Now, in the women's bathroom, which was William Jr.'s main domain, his personal domain, many women have reported of seeing a man peeking over the stall and staring at them while they're using the bathroom. And one night, a woman came with 2 of her guy friends to the piano bar, and she went to the bathroom, and she comes out hollering, saying, "I hope you got an eyeful," to her friends. And they were confused, like, what are you talking about? The bartender said that they were at the bar the entire time. She swore she saw a man looking at her while she was using the bathroom. This is the ghost that is said to be of William Jr., the womanizer. Ugh. Now, in William Sr.'s room, William Jr.'s father, it is said that you could hear, residents would hear, people who stayed at the inn could hear running up and down the stairs, and then a door being kicked in. Well, when William Sr. went to unalive himself, William Jr. actually ran after him, ran up the stairs, and even though William Sr. locked the door behind him, you know, hearing the doors lock and unlock too, William Jr. tried kicking the door in to get to his father. But it was too late. I'm gonna do my eyelashes real quick. Alright, so the mansion has been featured in many magazines, and it is a huge place for ghost hunters, ghost investigators to explore. Today, you can actually go and spend the night, week, whatever, in the mansion, because it is now a bed and breakfast. And it features fine dining and a lovely mystery dinner theater. And tours are also available, you know, if you want to go take a tour of the caves or the, you know, offices, the attic, the bathroom. So, would you tour the mansion? Would you stay the night there? I would, because I'm a freak like that, but you know. So that is the amazing story of the Lemp Family Mansion located in St. Louis, Missouri. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. But you know what? I'm wondering though, like, was that family just cursed from the beginning? Was the brewery cursed? Was the beer cursed? I mean, the only one who pretty much survived that entire fiasco was Edwin, and he made it to 90, but he didn't have anything to do with the brewery. Not a damn thing. I mean, maybe the beer was supposed to stay in Germany, and I don't know, came over to the Americas and it was cursed. Well, if you guys have a great paranormal story that you want me to talk about, I'll post my email below and you can share it that way. And I hope you guys have a fantastic evening and stay spooky. Bye.